Virgil van Dijk pulling no punches post-match, saying the way we conceded these 2 goals is unacceptable. It's too easy, lazy, and shouldn't have happened. Mario, we saw as the game went on, didn't we? Kind of Virgil van Dijk cutting a more and more frustrated figure, and certainly you felt that frustration was aimed at Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah, I mean, you could have said that because I don't know, he kind of looked that way and he was complaining. But one thing Trent did wrong was, of course, at the goals, you could see his positioning wasn't right. You understand? One time the long ball goes, Konate goes up. He runs inside instead of outside. Because he runs inside, Konate becomes a right back and he becomes a center half. So moments like that, and in the other situation, is that he reacts too slow. So, look, when it comes to moments like this, it's very also a little bit Dutch. I'm not going to complain about it because he has a Dutch coach now, and they love to be direct. So sometimes maybe, Virgil, he's Dutch, so he's going to be direct. But he might not call the name, but he might mean it towards him like how you highlighted. But I'm not sure. He will not call them out in public because that doesn't make sense because they're not. We cannot say they're in problems, but he's probably not happy that they conceded a goal, especially the late goal, the way they conceded it. They could have won the game, you understand? Okay, and then later on they could have lost the game. So in that situation, I think he probably was upset the way the scoreline went eventually.
Nedum, it's interesting, isn't it? Because all the talk ahead of the game at New Year's was that Real Madrid had put in this bid for Alexander-Arnold. Of course, then puts in the performance that he did at the weekend. Is he just the easy fall guy?
I think the link to Real Madrid is an easy thing to mention, yes. But I think essentially he's just had a really, really bad game. And I think what makes it worse is his history with the football club, his history with the city, and the fact he's done this against his biggest rivals in Manchester United. I think it's not great. I think everyone saw how bad a performance it was from his perspective. And I'm sure that's cutting him up himself because, there's a world where this is the last time he plays against them. And that's what he's going to remember. I'm sure he's going to try and address it going forward, but he was so bad yesterday. I think the fact that Dalot himself was thinking, I really fancy my chances against him. Dalot was taking him on like it was Vinicius Jr. or something like that. This was crazy. So I think for Trent, Alexander-Arnold, and so one or two other players, I think Van Dijk mentioned it. He said it was lazy. He said the nature of those goals were unacceptable. And to be fair to Liverpool this season, they have one of the best defensive records in the league. So for them to all of a sudden look so open against a side who we've all got to admit in United haven't been the most creative in recent weeks, that is an alarm. And I think Alexander-Arnold was very much a big part of that. And, some days we say it's fine because an attack is so good. But when the attacking element wasn't there, defensive element wasn't there, it's very, very hard to hide him in that performance.
What's interesting is the quotes that we heard from afterwards from the Manchester United camp, Stevie. Both Bruno Fernandes and Amorim basically said, this was a really frustrating day, not because of the result, not because of the performance, but it's the first time really I've seen that spirit that I want from my team. We should be doing this every single week. How concerning is it, from your point of view, that a new manager comes in and they don't get that spirit, that effort straight away? It takes a game against Liverpool at Anfield for them to raise their level. And how easy is it then to maintain this?
Well, this group of players have shown that they can produce a performance like that. They've done it 3 or 4 occasions over the last 18 months, 2 years. But consistently, absolutely not. And the reason is they're not good enough. They're good enough that they're able to produce a performance. They're just not good enough that they can consistently produce that amount of attention, that amount of detail, that amount of quality.
But explain to me why not?
Because they're not good enough.
But surely if I'm good enough to do it once, I can do it twice, thrice,
well, you don't
4 times.
But that means you have to have the mentality. They clearly don't have the mentality. All of the things that fell into place yesterday against Liverpool are all the things that professionals hate being pulled up about. You did it today. Why can't you do it again?
Right.
I mean, it's the worst thing you can do is point a finger at a football player and say that because they know that their mentality isn't good enough. They're not good enough to do that. That's why they've been producing poor performance after poor performance. And as I said, everything lined up. The conditions were tough. It made it tough for Liverpool's passing to be quite as accurate. And so they just fed off of that. Plus the fact it's one of the biggest games of the season. I mean, all of those things feed into a team who've got nothing to lose. Keep saying it. It's a different ball game when there's an expectation on you to produce. And Manchester United, when you put the jersey on, there's an expectation of a level of consistency and ability. And this team, as a group, does not have it. They've got a couple of players, and Bruno Fernandes in particular, who can do it, but they don't have enough. They've maybe got 2 or 3 every time they step on the field. There's probably 2 or 3 who are probably at it, and the other 7 or 8 are not. You ain't getting anywhere with those sort of odds, and that's exactly the problem with Man United. And do not be surprised the next time they step on the field that we see the real Manchester United that we've been seeing for the last couple of seasons.
That's obviously the FA Cup this weekend against Arsenal. Nedum, this really fascinates me as someone who hasn't played at the level that you guys have. You kind of think, well, surely this is one brilliant performance. You bottle that, you take everything that was good from it, and then you put it in the next game. And the next game, yet you look at the matches against Wolves, against Bournemouth and Newcastle, all that effort combined wasn't as much as they put into this one. So why can't they learn their lesson from this and take it as a positive going forward?
It's a great question. I think all the words that they're saying after the game, Lisandro Martinez as well, saying what was different this time was the mentality. You know, this is what they needed to do. I think at times, I don't know if Stevie and Mario would agree, I think United thrive when they're an underdog. But the fact is they're not an underdog very often. So in an underdog type situation, it's not about the formation. It's not about, say, building from the back. It's about going out there, showing the heart, showing the pride, to step up in a big game, a big rivalry game against Liverpool. Everybody's written you off, and here they step forward and put forward probably the best performance of their whole season. And it was defensively solid. They worked well in transition. You know, they showed more personality, more character, and that feels great. And to be fair, going up against Arsenal in the next game, maybe they'll try and do that again. But the issue for them, as we've seen in recent years, is what it's like. What's it like against Wolves? What's it like against Bournemouth when you're playing at home? The crowd expects you to be on the front foot. Yeah. I think for me, the best teams, the ones who are at the top of the league in recent years, they almost play with like a chip on the shoulder. You know, they will be dogged. They'll know that they're desperate to win a game of football. It doesn't always have to look nice. It just has to lead to a win, because that's the importance of the 3 points on a week-to-week basis. And for United, it's great. Their fans are so connected. They're so happy today. Probably similar to how they were when they beat City, I think, 2-3 weeks ago. But the fact is, like, it was still a draw. The fact is you're still in the bottom half of the Premier League, and a win for you in 2 weeks' time doesn't even take you into the top half. But it has to be built upon. You've shown your fans what you can do. And if you deviate away from that, then as Stevie says, you know, the issues are far bigger, because consistency is the thing we've all been speaking about for so many years now, because they can have some highs, but the lows tend to follow shortly after.
So, Mario, are we saying regardless of whatever Amorim does between now and the next game or after that, it doesn't actually make a difference, because these players have to motivate themselves, and we've seen that they haven't been able to do that for games against smaller teams?
Yeah, because like just what Nedum and Stevie said, you know, when you come to the level of that, you know, then it's not anymore that you only need your coach to tell you every time, like, come on, let's go, guys, come on, we have to do this. Some moments, not some moments, all the moments, especially at that level, you have to motivate yourself. And you can have sometimes, maybe you could drop off and then someone can give you a little feeling like, hey, come on, man, you're not there. And then you crack up your game. But Man United have it too often. It's too shaky for them. And that's why, like what you guys highlighted, you understand, like against City, was very compact, very disciplined. Fernandes was there. He dropped. Normally, you see him going left, right, so like looking for balls and everything. This game, you understand, against City, he was sitting in the middle. What did he do against Liverpool? He was disciplined. Sometimes they had 5 at the back, 4 lying in front, and then 1 up front, and waiting and hit them on the break and waiting for them to make mistakes. And clearly, Liverpool is the one with there's more confidence, and that was perfectly like what Nathan said. Yes, they were the underdog. And it's funny to say, because normally you don't say that. You say, no, you're not the underdog. You know, Man United, Liverpool, you don't have no underdogs. You go at it. But this game, it was so in the hands of Man United. They knew they didn't have to entertain anybody. No one was expecting them to show you a beautiful game of passing and understanding. No, they just had to do the business. And they turned up, and I've seen a team do the business. But now the next game comes. Right. Can you do it again? Can you do it again? And that is what Amorim is going to work on. And he has to work on it, because you need discipline. And some things are still not right.
How does he work on it, Stevie? I suppose that's the million-dollar question.
It's really simple. You get rid of the players you've got and get other ones in.
But that doesn't.
Dan, you can't.
This is it. You've got to coach these players, haven't you?
You have to keep banging. No, you have to keep banging the drum, and you have to keep on at them. But let me tell you, through experience, you can tell somebody 1,000 times the right thing to do. Right. But when the whistle blows and they don't do it, you're scratching your head because
Yeah.
you know you've told them 1,000 times.
Right.
When you're not good enough, it's not going to work consistently. They've shown that they're able to put in a performance every now and again that gives hope, unfortunately gives hope. But the bottom line is the players that he has are not good enough. And he can, you know, he's complaining about he's only had 4 training sessions. So we've got to give him some leeway.
Yep.
But let me tell you, when you've got a group of players and the majority or too many don't get it or can't produce it, you can have as many training sessions as you want. At the end of the day, it comes down to the person. And if you can't, and the only way you change it really is you get rid of one person and you bring another one in that actually understands and can achieve what you're looking for.